Hey all, Toves here. Welcome back to another Planet Coaster 2 guide. So, I'm going to be talking about the pools today. I've been playing around for a while. As you can see, I've done a bit of a sort of experiment park. Lots of different pools in here. We're going to take you through all the different things that I've discovered so far about the pools and hopefully answer any questions that you might have open at this stage. So let's jump into it. Okay, so for the basics, you have two options to find: the pools menu and the pool control. So down here on the main control bar, so you click that, and that brings up by default, as everything happens in this game. The default view is of the blueprints, and you can pick those up and plot them down should you choose to, just by left clicking. The other option is to click on select a existing pool, and again that will take you immediately into the create custom pools control. This set of controls will be default to whatever the last option you had, and you have options across the main kind of adding pools function, and then tools for those specific ones. So we're going to go through all of this, so hopefully we cover it all. So exactly the same as in paths, you have a line builder option. You don't have a like a classic option like we did on paths, obviously, because there wasn't previously paths. And you have by default, it will default to line style straight, so you can place straight paths, and you can place paths with a curve. Actually, something I didn't mention in the paths tutorial, but it's exactly the same here. If you notice these white lines that appear showing you, I think they're showing you 4 meters. So every 4 meters, it will give you an indication again that you've reached that length. So you can place these down. They can overlap, as you see that they will overlap like that. You have these first two options are edge type of infinity, which is like an infinity pool, which basically means it will have I've just noticed a few things I've got going on here. We'll come back to that in a second. So by default, you will have it set to infinity. If you select that to path, you'll notice that now I'm placing my pool with automatically added paths. And you can obviously overlap the two, right? So you can do, in fact, let's just pause it so we don't get any more of those messages. So you can have things where you're kind of blending these together. Like, obviously, if you're just drawing them, it can get a bit messy, but you'll see how those two options continue all the way through. So I think you'll probably be using both a combination of the two. Obviously, if it's got a path against it, guests can go in and out of that pool. If it doesn't have a path against it, if it's infinity like that, then the guests are stuck inside it and will not be able to get out. Connection type is pretty obvious. So again, I think I said in the previous tutorial, I don't think this really actually works that well, because it looks like to me that it kind of does whatever it fancies doing. But you can see you can overlap things, and you can effectively draw until your heart's content. Line width is pretty self-explanatory. The minimum width by just using the tool is 4, and then the maximum width is kind of that size, so quite considerably bigger. Again, we'll come back to what you can do to break those rules a bit later. And then obviously you can also overlap that with paths should you wish to. So should you wish to grab the path tool, you can paint path up to it effectively as well, and it will link it all together. You have within the pools themselves, there are several different depth options. So if we just paste down, in fact, let's just get rid of some of this mess, so back to a clean palette. So you've got swimming. In fact, let's do this without the path. So if you've got swimming, you've got diving, which is deeper. You've got shallow, which is obviously more shallow than, or very, very shallow. So that's like ankle deep. And then you've got wading, which is somewhere between shallow and swimming. Right, so those are your 4 options really. But again, when we come back to looking at editing, you'll see that there is grades between that. One of the things that people didn't know when we were first looking at this in screenshots and things, and you could see that there were different depths, was what would happen if you overlap multiple options. If I wanted to go from swimming to wading, for example, or vice versa, the game will actually add this lovely little grade in. So you get this lovely little slope. So it's really nice. It's not a, and obviously that continues as much as you want. So if I wanted to go even deeper than that, the game will do that. And it's really good at doing that. You get some like janky edges sometimes, but you can smooth those out, generally speaking. You've obviously got fixed length. So do you want to be exact on the length? In fact, let's test my theory of that being... It's not 4 meters. In fact, it's 12 meters, interestingly. So it's going to tell you every 12 meters. That is weird. I wonder why they chose to do that. Anyway, you can angle snap. Obviously, you can length snap. So you can fix it to only go like, per particular length. You can merge them. Working height we talked about in the path tutorial, but this is a bit of a weird control at the moment, but effectively allows you to say if you want to float a piece of pool above ground like that, you can specify exactly what you want the height off the ground to be. So should you want to, for example, create a floating pool like that, there is no problem. You will also notice when I'm doing that, the game does a really lovely thing of adding in this like auto textured sort of edge as well, so it gets like a nice wooden texture. There's no way of changing that. Actually, I don't think there's a way of changing that. We'll come back to that in a second. I think this stays the same. We'll leave that there so we can check. The draw tool, I would say, much like with plazas, is much more appropriate to creating your own pools. So I would imagine most of the time we'll be kind of going... I've got the option of having line style, straight or curved, and I will go, let's do curved. So effectively it just becomes like it follows my mouse, and I can make some cool shapes, and it will like auto complete and things when I get to a shape I want to. And I can overlap all of these things to make multiple pools like that. If I switch this merge option off, then it will actually... Oh, it did it anyway. So yeah, I'm not quite sure what that merge option is supposed to do at the moment. It doesn't seem like it does what it's supposed to do. But yeah, so that's a really good way of creating big pools. And again, it has the same options really that you got before, where you've got the depth and you've got the edge type. So again, I could add to that some more paved edges if I wanted to. That's not really going to work. Hold on, let's have it overlap. So that's got a path against it. So all of these things blend really well together, and they do what they're supposed to do really well. The stamp tool, stamp builder, much like the path, and this is what's really clever about this. This is all very, very similar to the path function. So I have the option to, as you've just seen me do, place down stamped items. I would say, actually, generally speaking, I think it makes sense to usually have both stamp grid and point snapping on by default, because you can pull away from it should you choose. So I'm just moving my cursor up to the edge of that pool and it's snapping to the edge, which I find probably more realistic. Oh, interestingly, we're not doing something there. Quite sure what we're not doing, but there's some foibles. There's definitely some foibles, but having just said that, it all works nicely, really well. So yeah, you can change the size of the stamp. You can also press the X key on PC, and I did say to someone I would learn what the console controls are for this, but I haven't. But this is like your standard like advanced move control. Oh, right, okay. So now it's not actually doing the merge because I had the merge. That is very strange. And now it's not doing the merge, and now it's doing the merge. Okay, so that was... The merge tool seems to work with the stamp tool, doesn't really work with the draw tool. Interesting. Might just be a bug. So yeah, I can stamp down an option. Obviously, as I said before, you can change the shape of these. If you want to get rounded edges or a big round pool, you can use any one of these other stamps and then just use the rounding tool and a nice big brush size just to click away those edges. And it takes you a bit of time, but you eventually can get to a circle. Probably not doing on that one because it's got that little edge overlapping. But yeah, it's not perfect. That's probably the best way to getting around pools other than like drawing round circles. It's quite hard to actually draw a round circle. Over here, this is a little feature I discovered recently. So the game has this concept, so we all kind of know that dark rides exist. But the game also will do automatic pool lighting when you go underground. So if I wanted to, I'll just show you how I've done that. So all I have to do is when I place a pool down with the line builder, if I intercept a piece of terrain like this, and by default it tunnels, but I can also hold my shift key to lift or lower a pool, and that marker, that vertical marker that you're getting there is telling you that that it's above ground or below ground. What you can't do with pools is you can't slope them, right? That doesn't logically make sense. So you couldn't have it slope like a path does. So once you've clicked something, you can't then, doesn't matter how much you hold shift and lower or raise, it won't raise it. So that all makes sense, right? That's all logical. So, but yeah, that's quite a cool feature, the fact that you can go underground, right? So here are your options for different textures and different designs, and in fact we'll go back over there in case it does actually change the edge of that pool for us. So you've got a couple of options where you can basically either choose this option when you're first placing them down. So if I go back into that again and I choose, what have I got selected at the moment? I've got that style chosen. I could switch to something else. You can combine them if you want to, and it will just do, you know, kind of simple little blend of those. And obviously those are my options, and it may be that they add more options in the future. It seems like it's like fairly set up for doing that. You can change the kind of edging here as well. So if you notice, that one's set to that grey tile. Not loads of options here. In fact, let's get one off the ground so we can see if that does actually change the edge style. No, it's still wooden edge. Okay, I thought it might be. So we've got the grey we've already used, the white edge. Turn icon snap on for a second. We've got the wooden edge, which is quite nice. We've got the terracotta edge. And then we've got this sandstone edge as well. Those are all really cool. And obviously they work in combination with any other the tiles that you want to use. And so that is how you place, that's how you place them down, having already understood what texture you want to use. But if you want to pick a different texture, so let's say we've got that texture and we want to switch it to the sandstone. It's not actually going to show up. Oh, it will show up. Okay. Then we have to go back into the customize brush. So I've picked my palette there, go back into the customize brush, and I can now click and change that. So you'll see I'm changing both the floor texture as well as the tile that's up here. Again, I slightly think that journey is a little bit odd, the fact that you're switching backwards and forwards between those. If you have already changed something and you want to use that texture again, you can click on the little kind of palette option here and say copy existing texture, and then it will allow you to choose from a section, and then it will paste that into the new section. So if we wanted just to go, just make sure that's actually doing what it's supposed to be doing, pick that bit up over there and we'll paste that, and you see that's a really simple way of changing them. What else do we have? We have lazy rivers. So this is something that I've seen a few people play with, and I'm not convinced this is actually working that well in the game. But what you have to do with the lazy rivers is, so the lazy river option appears in this section here. So this little kind of almost like the path extras option that we had on paths. But it will only be enabled if you have got the line builder selected. So if you notice anything else that I select, it's disabled those options. So it will only work if you're painting a line, basically. And what you get in the options here then is the option to say, do I want water jets on both? So jet side means does it want to paste it on both sides, or you have the option to say left or right, or both again. And you also get this jet's rotation option, which is really quite confusing. But basically, I think is saying, if we just put this, just to go back out to our little space again, and let's go straight path. And we'll go angle snap is on. Okay, great. So let's just check. So if we go 158 is the maximum, which is, I think, makes sense, and I'll explain why in a second. And then if I go back the other way with these ones, you'll notice that these jets, and these are the jets here, are pointing towards me, whereas these jets are pointed away from me. So that is the change that I've picked in that option there. Now I would suspect, and I'm not sure of this because I haven't tested it, that if you pasted down, I think the idea of this is that the more the angle of the jet, the closer to the edge potentially you have to be for that to work. And that actually not necessarily does it mean that you're going to get a quicker travel through the lazy river, if that makes sense. It as I said, it doesn't work that well, this, so I think this is probably something that's going to get patched fairly soon. But what I have done, and I'll try and drop in some B-roll here of getting these lazy rivers to work. I mean, I kept it really simple here. I did a big long complicated meandering one, which sort of does work, but I also then went back and said, this is my lazy river, and I want to I did the most number of jets I possibly could when placing it down. So I had this jet repetition maxed out, which means it's going to repeat the jets as frequent as it possibly can. But I wanted to see what happens if you add a load of jets, right? So how you then do that is go into the pull extras option, which we'll come back to in a second, and add lazy river jets all the way along, and you'll see that it will give you a snap point for that. So at the moment you have to like hover above where you'd think it would be. So I can't use my cursor there. It will give me the specifics of where that's going to place, and I can rotate using my Z key the angle of that. Interestingly, when you do this, you can't press X to be more specific of the jet, so you can only go, and it's a bit buggy because I can't go back the other way, but and obviously I can, once I've placed one of these down, I can duplicate it and carry on placing it. Also, let's look at how you make more dynamic widths and things of pool. So again, you can use the edit tool here, and you can select a number of nodes, and you can move that edge should you choose, or you can make it narrower should you choose. Interestingly, it's just taken the path off of there for some reason. You can select single nodes to change the shape. Getting told that all my pools are unsafe at the moment for some reason, but hey ho. Oh, it's these ones over here, isn't it? That's why game's having a freak out. And you can The other thing that's interesting with this is that you see this little option here. So you can select a number of nodes and then you can manually control. If we just go underwater and keep that in view, we can manually control the height of the pool to an extent. It's not perfect. It does. For some reason it's snapping. I wonder if it's snapping because of, no, it's not snapping. It's just, so you can kind of do that at a point. So you can say like that little corner I want to be sloped up. So it allows you to do some sort of, some pretty dynamic things underwater. All pools will need some access for guests in some way, and an access can be either a path or a flume or a slide or something like that. But all pools will need, in order for the game to be happy, to be safe, and they will need to be clean. So if you click on a pool that you've placed down, you will see these last two options here, the filtering rate, so they will need to be clean, and the safety rate, so they will need to be safe. I think guests will go in them anyway, but you'll get constantly bombarded by these messages over on the left hand side. So in that option of the safety, I have this little new lifeguard button, and you can see that person's got like an area of effect. They will only snap to the edges of paths, so the edges of pools, and they must be on a path. You can rotate them by holding the Z key and changing the direction they're looking. And also you can get to that same view by going into pool and pool extras, and then you actually get a couple of different life guide options. Basically the range is different. If you look at that one versus that one, they're more expensive, so I guess that's the only reason to ever use one over the other. The lifeguard post and the short one are exactly the same. One thing that's worth noting though is that this is a staff member. So this staff member will go on break and will walk off and do his own thing or her own thing. And in that time, the pool will be not safe. And this person will obviously jump in the pool and save people in distress. At the moment, they seem to do that all the time, and they blow a whistle and it's a little bit annoying. Hopefully that gets modified a bit. In here, we also have, let's go back to this a second, not that one. Single click brings up the actual view of the pool and the information of the pool. Double click takes me into the tools. So just click once, and you'll get some information about the price. We'll come back to entrance, open or not. You'll get guest thoughts about people that have recently used that pool. So let's just have a look at what they're saying about this one. No recent thoughts. They're all void. They're all void of information. They're all void of thought. There you go. This one's got not a whole lot. I mean, I guess that's saying 1% of people thinking inflatables, I love swimming, blah, blah, blah. Great. Basically, what you're trying to get to is happy guests and a prestigious pool. And I think the more prestigious the pool, the more likely you'll get guests in there. So you'll see that this one has got a rating of 1,000. This one has got a rating of 532. I would suggest that is why there are loads and loads of people in there and not so many people in there. But I'm not sure it's quite so perfect at the moment. And the numbers that go into that are both pool size, wave machines. So this has basically got a bit of everything. Water jets, flumes, the scenery rating, so what you surround it with, etc. And then the pool extras. And just to finish off on the pool extras, so there's your wave machines, and you've got various different sizes of those. You've got loungers that you can plop along the side, and the guests will use them to get some rays. We've got two different types of diving boards. As you can see, there's one there that's being used. Let's just unpause it and watch this glorious man do his thing. Go on, sir. Amazing. This taller one, for some reason at the moment they don't use, but I am looking forward to the day at which they will jump from the top. So that's your general, that's your pool extras. We didn't cover cleanliness there. So how cleanliness works is, again, we'll just do a single click on that. We'll look at the filtering rate, Now I'm playing in sandbox at the moment, so I've got this set to not care about water filtration. But all you have to do, this is super simple, is go to facilities and utilities and water utilities, and every pool needs to be clean. But the thing that's new in Planet Coaster 1 that's really cool is that these utilities have like a kind of central point and a node point. So what that means is, in fact, let me just go out of that because for some reason that's not showing everything I want to see. We care about the water filter and the water pump, right? So there needs to be a central point at which there is a water pump. So you'll see over here. In fact, we'll just do this again so you can see. There needs to be a water pump that does the actual work. That is the thing that is doing the cleaning of the pool. Well, that is the thing that's doing this sort of central control of pools being clean. That needs to have staff access to it and needs to be maintained. What then happens is that you need a water filter for every pool, or you'll see in a second if I do this. So we need to be able to place down, I can't actually remember where it is, there we go. We need to place down a water filter. So we'll take that pump over there and we'll clean up all of this. And you'll see these have an air of effect. Now the reason why there is two of these, not one, is that this one is slightly smaller. It's not much smaller, but it is slightly smaller. But this does not need staff access. So no one has to come and maintain this. And when you place it down, you'll see that it gets a little like kind of pipe control. We're underground at the moment. And I can attach it either back to the main pump, or I can attach it to another water filter. So if I do that again, where is it? It's that one there. We'll just get those additional things over there. So that means you can basically, if you wanted to, you can hide this in a bush. In fact, I've just realised I'm looking at the blueprint version there. So if you press Create Custom, you'll go into, there we go, that's what we wanted. So connect water pipe takes me into that view where I can just connect some things together. I can remove water pipe should I choose between 2 points. And put it back in again just so it works. And then I can also, you'll see the water filters themselves are actually relatively small. So let's just put one there just so we can see for comparison's sake the water pump. Yeah, and they can be hidden, right? So they don't need to be need to be had access to them. They've just got to be within a proximity of a well, of a pool, and they will clean it. There's still more. Right, exit only pools. Right, so one of the things that you'll notice is if you've been looking at the game for a while and wondering, is this not a particularly safe spot to be swimming? Because that lady is about to hit me right in the face. So what you can do is, if we go back to one of our test pools, we left click on that test pool, we can close that pool. That would now mean, in fact, if we did it on this over here, let's see what happens. If we click on that and we say off and we speed it up, everybody should get out. And we will end up with the person that comes out of the tube still able to come out of the tube or the slide, but they immediately exit. So that effectively means you have an exit only pool, and I think that's the best way for you to avoid people smashing into each other. We have also got, you'll notice that I have a bridge here. Oh, we have someone drowning down there. That's not very good. Let's just move that small child. Yeah, you can build bridges and you can build islands. So one of the things that I was going to do with this and the last bit of the tool that we haven't really looked at. So if I double click on the tool now and I go to the demolish option, You'll notice I have a demolish brush, which will take out big chunks and take out the sections. But what's really handy is you can use the stamp delete tool, and I can, if I wanted to make myself a little, let's make ourselves a nice little island in the middle of this. It's not actually that small. Let's make ourselves a nice little island in the middle of this. Not that small. Stamp scale. Let's go that. Let's make ourselves a nice little island, and I can now, once I've got that little footprint, I can mess around with this. So I could actually, if I wanted to, let me remember how I did this. So if I wanted to, I can double click again, remove, delete stamp, and I can add some path to that should I choose to. So if we go down to like that, I can add a path to that. That's now a point at which guests could get out should they choose to. And I can, if I wanted to, I can achieve that same thing by just adding path into in here, and I can edit the path, much like I can edit the pool, just to make that shape as, you know, kind of whatever I want it to be. And again, I can round the edges of that should I choose to. So that don't look very good, but this one looks all right, and I've added some, you know, a bit of some trees and some diving boards off it and things. When the game first launched, people got stuck on islands and never came off of them, but now it's working, and it's working really well. Last bit on that then, so bridges. This is the very first thing I did. I thought it'd be cool to have a bridge over the top. The game doesn't massively like you putting a path over the top of a pool, I have to say. Well, it's not like terrible, but if you notice, we've got a red circle. Yeah, actually, at a point, it will just work. And I can say I want supports on. So if I'm over here, if you'll notice, I get supports, but the game doesn't do that over the top of the pool, annoyingly. And I can go lower with that. So let's actually go. We'll use the stamp tool so we can get this nice and straight. Just so I can show you where the minimum height is. So that's okay. That's okay. That's not okay. It's going to start adding an island in for it, which maybe you'd want, but I actually think it looks really cool to have the pillars kind of hit the water sort of thing. But so I actually ended up creating my own. These are like custom things. The disadvantage of that is that the guests will swim right through it. Very, very last thing, and I appreciate this is a long video. The very last thing is inflatables. So a few people have been wondering how you get inflatables. There is someone with an inflatable using the lazy river. Is that actually working? Actually, that is working. Hurrah, we've got someone doing it properly. So you've got inflatables. All you have to do is place down the Splash Emporium. I've tried to see if it would make a difference to how frequently people will do that. And they just magically pull the inflatable out of their swimmers and off they go. So that's it. I think that's it. I think that's everything. Do let me know in the comments, guys, if you've got questions, or as I said before, yeah, this is all up for change. It's all pretty new. The game has only been out of like a few days, so this may well change. I'd imagine this will do change a bit, but not loads of it. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that one. Appreciate it all over the place a little bit, but there's a lot here, and I will catch you on the next one. Take it easy.